Hey everybody, Joe at Bumbling Acres here. I hope y'all are doing well. Man, I'll tell you, I'm so tired of this beard. I feel like I look like a homeless Amish person. It's not a good look, especially when you're as bald as I am. Like, it just, like, the hair that comes in is not a flattering look. But, not what this post is about. Vain Joe. We're going to talk about priorities, perspective, and homesteading. And it occurs to me, I feel like maybe I come across a little preachy at times, so forgive me if I do. Like I said, this isn't a practical app homesteading channel. One day, maybe we'll transition to it, but right now we're just figuring it out as we go along. So I don't generally have things recorded while I'm doing something. I'm not set up for that. I've got a cell phone that I'm taking video on. But the other reality is that it takes a lot of, homesteading is problem solving all day, every day, till the end of time. Like, everything is a problem. You're constantly, you'll fix something to where you think it's the right, and then you'll be presented with the new challenges that come along with it, because you're dealing with Mother Nature now. Human systems, they will go where they're supposed to, or they'll fail spectacularly. Like, things will either work or they don't work in the corporate world, in the human world. In nature world, you can get it right enough to work, but it won't work great. And you're constantly just working, so you're constantly kind of improving everything you're doing. That's the reason why obviously you'll hear me talk about version 1.0 of things, 2.0 of things, 3.0 of things, like my water storage totes, all just part of the journey. But, because you are constantly working on things, you're never going to have enough time. Never. Now, due to the corona situation, I was home for 6 weeks. I forget how many weeks I've been home. But working from home for part of it. But I took about almost 2 weeks off directly when this started, just to be home with my family. And immediately, like, the amount of things you can get done when you focus full-time on this, it is amazing, and it's such a boost. It's hard to believe that when we first started the coronavirus, which was the month and a half, 2 months ago, we had the compost thing, but we didn't have the farm, the actual garden surrounded, which you'll see we actually have a fence surrounding the garden. We didn't have pigs when we started the coronavirus thing. We went on and set up the temporary training shelter, and we've set up the paddock area for the pigs. I'll be moving them hopefully to pasture this weekend. That's because the coronavirus happened, and I was able to focus 100% on my homestead. But even then, I recognize every day, even when I had 100%, there was never enough time to do everything. And you have to really start looking at your priorities, and a lot of your priorities are based off your perspective. And I feel like this is where it's important as a couple that you be on the same page with your spouse. And if you don't have a spouse and you're getting into this, you should write down what you want to accomplish. Big themes, the themes of what you want to accomplish, put down the tasks you want to accomplish within those themes. But you really want to write them down, because you want to be able to consult your list and kind of get an idea of what you want to do. And that's your perspective. That tells you what's a priority to you. Is it food? Is your priority generating food up and running? Because then you need to focus your resources on certain areas first. Is it raising animals? Before you can get animals, you need to have storage for those. You need to have the actual paddock set up. You need to have a water source, unless you just want to pay them out of your city water, which I wouldn't really recommend. It gets annoying to have to pay the city to feed your animals stuff that falls from the sky. But, those priorities will dictate what you need to focus on. Your priorities set the perspective, and that allows you to make the day-to-day choices. I had to work today, so I got off work and I had to focus on what tasks I need to accomplish. And it also allowed me to time management well. I knew I didn't have time today to do any really big tasks, but and this is such a stupid little thing, but it was very important to me that we get it done. And you'll notice on our composters, today's task was cutting 2 blocks of wood that go across the bottom of it that allow that to sit. That's what I accomplished today. I got my workbench out, cut some wood, measured, other than that, it's just straight organizing. But that was the task that I wanted to get done. And it's a little task, but you know what? That's something I needed to do. My perspectives, because the garden is so important to us, and to have compost in an area that we can compost quickly. And our chickens keep going in there and pushing everything out like we want them to do. They're tilling the ground. But sadly, by not keeping it in there, it's not continuing to compost. So, perspective. means your priorities, and kind of keeping an idea of what you want to do. So those day-to-day choices you can make. And it takes stress away from those decisions, so you're able to make those, especially if you do have a spouse and you're making these decisions. You don't always have time. I encourage you to make decisions with your spouse whenever possible. But when you don't always have time to do that, sometimes you got to make a choice. And if you both have the same perspective and the same priorities, they may not like what you did, but at least they'll understand what you did and they'll respect what you did. If they feel like you're all going off willy-nilly, not really paying attention to what they think and their priorities, and you're not working within priority goals, very hard time supporting that. So that was my thoughts today on priorities, perspective, and homesteading. You'll see actually one of our trees that I was worried had died at one point. We've got this one. This is our little orchard area. There's this one. We're going to plant some more fruit trees hopefully in the next week as well. But tasks are never done. Perspectives, priorities, homesteading. Hope you're having a great day. Joe with Bumblenaker signing off. Bye.